failure, and when I say failure, it's like the iterative things. Like, okay, we tried this, it didn't work. That's invaluable. I mean, to know where not to go is probably one of the most important things, and you'll never know until you try.
Welcome to Season 3 of the Amani Experience podcast. In this podcast, you will experience wisdom, advice, and stories from creatives all over the world. Your host is the award-winning Amani Roberts, who is a DJ, music producer, professor, author, and undercover gamer. On the show, we love to share the stories of creative professionals, especially people who have gone from the corporate life to the creative life. Once again, welcome to the Amani Experience podcast.
Welcome to episode 116 of the Amani Experience podcast. For this show, we have Jonathan Spangler with us. He is the CEO of Ciari Guitars. Three of my favorite things about this interview is that just the explanation and visual demonstration of this amazing guitar invention that Jonathan and his team have created. I really encourage you to watch the kind of the reveal part later in the episode on video, because he just shows you how it works, how it folds up, unfolds, and plugs in. It's amazing. I'm just so impressed and so excited. Second, Jonathan talks a lot about persistence and grit and how that's helped him throughout his career, specifically with creating this guitar and seeing it come to life. I really enjoyed that part. And finally, he also explains how he discovered balance kind of later on in his career, and I respect that and can relate to that. I think you're really going to love this interview. It's really unique. I'm so happy we got the chance to make it happen. To reach me, you can email me, podcast@AmaniExperience.com. Follow me on all the socials @AmaniExperience, and feel free to donate to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/AmaniExperience. Thank you very much for listening, and to the show we go. I would like to welcome Jonathan Spangler to the Amani Experience podcast.
Thank you for having me, Amani. Pleasure to be here.
It is a pleasure to have you. We're excited. Right now, we're here at Cal State Fullerton in the Mahalo School of Business doing our interview. Tell the listeners, where did you grow up?
I grew up in northern Wisconsin, a place called Rice Lake, metropolitan of rounding up 8,000.
Nice, nice. And then you went to Marquette University?
Yes, I did, for biomedical engineering and electrical. And that was in Milwaukee, so first taste of city life.
After you graduated from Marquette, where did you go from there?
Sure, so I went to law school at the University of Dayton in Dayton, Ohio, to specialize in intellectual property law.
Yeah, and you worked in that field for numerous years.
Yes, the math doesn't seem like it makes sense, but I guess it's been 24 years this year.
24 years.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What was it about intellectual property law that interested you from the beginning?
Great question. For me, it was a great opportunity to be really close to innovation, while at the same time not having to commit to, frankly, one technology. Right, and so I got to deal with innovators and inventors and people who were fundamentally happy to see me, as opposed to other areas of law.
True.
And so, it was the continued exposure to creativity.
Nice. And then as you went throughout your career, I understand that this idea that you have now, where you have this really cool special guitar that we're going to talk about a little bit later, was born. How did that idea kind of come to fruition, and what was the process for you to kind of get started?
Sure. So separate from my time doing IP law and so forth, I grew up playing music and, very musical family. A lot of howling at the moon, around campfires and things of that nature. And so it was really in my professional job as a patent attorney for this medical company in San Diego, where they tapped me to be the Paul Schaefer of the company band. And for people who see the video, you'll see why. My haircut is very Paul Schaefer-esque. Excuse me. But, so basically I had to be the band leader, and we played every quarter. The quarterly meetings were, a Tonight Show format.
Right.
And so for that, I had to practice a lot, but meanwhile I was traveling way too much for work. And so I had to tote my guitar while I'm going to depositions or meeting with doctors or so forth. So it was really that, the pain point of needing to travel with my guitar, and the pain points associated with that. Stress, is it going to make it in the main cabin? Is it not? If it goes into storage, will it come out? Will it come out in two pieces or one? The struggle is real, Amani. Yeah.
I can imagine.
So that was the background.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I were to ask you to play maybe one or two of your go-to songs on the guitar, what are the first two songs you're going to play for me?
Folsom Prison and Lonely Boy.
All right, you got that ready.
Yeah. Oh, no, those are, I know. Yeah, it's easy.
Nice. Now, when was it that you decided that you wanted to create this guitar and really kind of move forward and make it happen?
Sure. So it was in 2012 was really the year that I finally filed this patent application. I had been experiencing the pain points of guitar air travel for a few years, researched the options, and frankly, I had the epiphany that maybe I should listen to my own advice. And my own advice has always been, there are the technical, legal requirements of patentability, and then there's just the working definition. Like, what is that? What is novelty, non-obviousness, and utility? Those are very hard to digest. And so my working definition is study this friction in your life, solve for it, and you'll solve it for somebody else.
Yes.
Because as much as we all want to believe we're unique, our struggles are being experienced by other people too. And so I researched the options, didn't like it. Didn't like the options that were available, and so took my own advice, which was, can't find it, make what you want, and I definitely identified the friction. The solving for it, took years,
right.
And a lot of broken strings, necks, but never will.
Okay,
never will.
Good.
Yeah.
How long did it take from 2012 when you first applied for the patent to seeing your first model or format of the guitar?
Mm-hmm. It was late 2016.
Wow.
Yeah, but I should note it wasn't as though we were working on it, really in earnest during the bulk of from 2012 to 2016. I left my corporate job to pursue this in March of 2016, and so it was really from March until December is when we made our first prototype, and that started the land of misfit toys because, the innovation is nonlinear and it's very messy. But that's when we first had something tangible. And then we kept iterating, learning. I mean, if there's one message that is glaringly clear in all of this, it's like every time you try something, you learn so much.
Right.
And so, oftentimes people get into this analysis paralysis, and they don't want to make a misstep, so they make no step. And then I guarantee you're missing out on these vast learnings that you will never know until you step out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What was the feeling like when you saw your first prototype? How did you feel?
It was very, I actually have goosebumps thinking about it right now with just the question. So, I mean, it was awesome. Seeing it the first time was one thing. Hearing it played by people who are, up the food chain.
Yes.
That is out of body.
Yes.
And so being able to have people who are, I was up literally with Metallica at their practice studio a couple weeks ago. I'm meeting Rich Fortus from Guns N' Roses tomorrow in LA, and I'm thinking, how did this happen?
It's great. It's great.
Yeah. No, it's so fun. It hurts.
And for the listeners and viewers who don't know what, and you pronounce it Ciari Guitars is, what's a quick synopsis?
Sure. Ciari Guitars has the first ever premium travel guitar. And so we are market making within the guitar, music instrument space, but specifically for premium travel. And what does that mean? It is something that is gig ready, pro play with unparalleled convenience. And truly, in my backpack here, and I'll pull it out in a second, is a guitar that has already been toured with by, you know, a guitarist who's toured with Bruno Mars. You know, he played this thing for 10 days in Europe with a different band. And it's in a backpack.
It's in a backpack. And so the key is it folds. It's in a backpack. You can carry it on your back and walk into the plane, not have to worry about putting it to overhead luggage. It stays with you, and it's got supreme quality.
Yes, it's a quality guitar first, and oh, by the way, it folds.
Yes.
Yeah, and it for the first time ever, there's a guitar that fits under the seat in front of you. And so, you know, setting aside the fact that it's truly gig ready, no one's ever been able to say, I can put my guitar under the seat in front of me. Yeah.
Amazing. How do you handle the skepticism from traditional guitar players who are like, this is just a toy, it's not real? Like, I can only imagine.
Oh, you're spot on. That's absolutely what we're up against, and that's fine. I actually enjoy the opportunity. Every time I see an eye roll or something, I'll go out into the you know, this is in the trade show context, but I will track them down and say, give me 30 seconds, right? And invariably, they walk away with a card. Because really what it takes to get them across that line is playing it and sitting down. And I say, listen, it's, you know, we're market making. I understand your skepticism because there have been failed attempts at folding guitars before. But I said, you know, we make them in Nashville, Tennessee with some of the best. And there's a guy named Joe Glazer Instruments, who is one of the most celebrated luthiers in the country, if not world. I mean, he literally is one of the most respected men in guitars. Paisley, Urban, you know, all these, everybody goes to Joe, right? Yeah. And I mean, he's a Nashville institution. And he told me I was crazy when he first saw the guitar. And then he basically has this specialized system called a Plec system that is specialized CNC that will measure the entire topography of a neck. And it can tell if anything's changed, and it can modify it if required, right? And so people will bring their old guitars in, and they can bring them right back to pro quality.
Yeah.
The point is, this is a truth serum. This system that he has, it does not lie, right? And it's just unequivocally objective numbers. And he would put it in, scan it, fold it, unfold it, put it back in, scan it. Exactly back to baseline. Exactly back to baseline. Wow. And so he said, you know, son, I think you're onto something. So being able to tell the skeptics, listen, you know, Joe Glazer's on our advisory board. We make our guitars with Joe. We make them in Nashville. We've got premium components. Seymour Duncan 59 pickups, ratio locking tuners from Graphtec. All these things that the guitarists know. Okay, you know, if this was a cheap toy, you wouldn't be using those components. You wouldn't have the, you know, frankly, the luxury of Joe Glazer attaching, you know, his name to what we're doing. And so it's the credibility through the association there. And then just, that's what gets them to stop walking away from me. Okay.
Right, definitely. Yeah.
National made Joe Glazer, you know, and then they're like, okay, tell me more. And then they sit down with the guitar. And we have these playstations at the trade shows. We actually did this. I'm not sure if you're aware, but we had a free guitar lounge that we spearheaded at the airport in San Diego.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we are actually really excited about the reception that we're getting from airports. Right? You think pianos in airports.
Yes.
In this instance, envision where it's silent play because you have headphones on, you have an iPad. And we did a test phase. We got into the Airport Innovation Lab in San Diego, and we killed it. Over 500 surveys in 2 weeks where people were raving about how, you know, they were stressed and this changed their state. How people posting on social media, I've never been happier to have my flight delayed. You know, I mean, it's crazy.
That's great.
And I go into that little bit of a tangent because playing this thing, particularly in the airport, we just had them sitting there normal, and they play. This is great. We love this. You know, I said, hey, you know, do you mind if I show you? There's something special here.
Oh, yes.
And then when I fold it, their heads explode, and they're like, you know. And so you're never going to know that it's a folding guitar until you really have it, operated.
Right.
And I think that's ultimately what, playing is believing. Everybody agrees it's clever. It takes playing it to understand that's quality.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, where you are yourself personally, professionally and personally, how would you summarize yourself in 30 seconds or less?
Sure. I would say, corporate guy who's turned entrepreneur. And I'm enjoying a second entirely new chapter in my professional career, and I've never had more fun.
Yes, it certainly looks like it.
Yeah.
What do you feel is important for creative professionals such as yourself or myself to succeed in today's business environment?
Sure. I think integrity,
Yes, sir.
top of the list. Closely related, subset perhaps, but accountability, ownership, grit, and this, that, and the other. But I think, integrity and really, if I've seen people come in, interview well, and fail miserably, it's for want of accountability. Mm-hmm. People who point fingers or make excuses, that is a death knell.
Right.
And so, I would rather, people who work with me, I'll be the first to raise my hand if I've screwed up. And you gain trust by being self-aware and stuff like that.
Definitely. I'm excited that you mentioned grit. What's your definition of grit, and how has that helped you throughout this whole process?
Sure. So I think there's a quote that Steve Jobs, I think it's attributed to him, but basically innovators and pioneers have to have the ability to be misunderstood for prolonged periods of time, right? And so during any development process, particularly if you're in a market-making enterprise, right? You're going where no one's gone before. We did this guitar in a different way and approaching, it's not an inexpensive guitar, so there are added challenges of the price point, what have you. But the ability to not be dissuaded by your vision or from your vision. Don't let people knock you off track. If I'm running off a cliff, I want someone to tell me, but I knew I wasn't running off a cliff. But if I had a nickel for every time someone said, what are you doing? Is this some sort of midlife crisis? And I was like, I don't know, maybe it is.
No, it's not.
Right. I would say keeping and use those the learning opportunities that come through experience. I mean, the failure, when I say failure, it's like the iterative things. Like, okay, we tried this, it didn't work. That's invaluable. Right. I mean, to know where not to go is probably one of the most important things, and you'll never know until you try.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We start, or let's just ask in general, when do you feel was a turning point in your career? Like, when did you realize that this is what you wanted to do and you're all in both feet? And I'm curious to hear your answer because you've had a very storied career in the law field, so I'm trying to see when was it maybe that something happened. So
Sure. Great question again. I would say, there was a point in time when I started at the last, first of all, I love intellectual property law. I love the creatives and things like that. But I was... And I worked at this company, Nuvasiv is the name of the company in San Diego. I was their first attorney back in the day in 2001, and there were 30 of us. We went from $2 million in sales to $850 million in the 14 plus years I was there. From 30 of us to 2,500, right? Global sales, like it was a rocket ship. Right, and tremendously, I feel so fortunate. Words fail me. Okay, but the point is, it's like the frog, the boiling frog, right? You don't know how your life has changed until you kind of take a step back.
Yes.
And what I at one point, as we grew and became this more of a lumbering, world leader in our particular spine type of spine surgery.
Right.
I sought to reconnect with the startup community. And so I was, for several of these incubators in San Diego, I was an entrepreneur in residence or a mentor. And so because I can go 4 miles deep on a very narrow, set of topics that, are an important part of any new enterprise, but it surely is not all parts, right? And so it was really the case that dealing with these entrepreneurs, I was inspired by them, to be quite honest, because I looked at all these people and I learned their stories, and every one of them took a leap of faith, and every one of them left a good job. Every one of them, had a dream and the support of people around them to say, you know what, take a run at it, and there wasn't the kind of cookie cutter, oh, this is what CEOs of startups look like, and there's no perfect time, there's no perfect person. You just have to have the guts to do it.
Yes, you do.
Right, and so it was inspiration that I took from those people that I said, you know what, I could absolutely continue with what I'm doing. I've enjoyed every aspect of it, but I've got one professional career, one span, and hopefully it's as long as God willing,
yes,
health wise and all that stuff. But am I going to put all my eggs in this one basket and then I would always wonder, what if, and so that's where I started to really do some soul searching, and it also happened to be right around the time when the patent was going to issue, and I thought, you know what, this is a sign.
Yeah, definitely. Many of what you just said in terms of all your eggs in one basket, there's never the right time, never the right, stage in life. I echo that because I felt the same way when I left Marriott, so I can relate. Why do you love what you do?
I love what I do primarily because I get to bring music and passion to more people who would otherwise leave it at home. All right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What is something that scares you?
Make more music is our
I love it.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan. What is something that scares you?
Sure. I would say, there are the macroeconomic, factors that are out there, and I do know that, as much as we all, believe, particularly people who play music, that it's, it's a vital, component of any rich life. If there's a massive economic downturn, people, that's where people sell guitars. It's not where they buy guitars, right? And so, that's it, because we're nice to have, not a need to have.
Right. What's the plan if there happens to be, God forbid, like an economic downturn? How will you still try to thrive in your market?
Yeah, I would say, the good thing about our model, well, I would say, we are going to have a certain amount of inventory in the field, and we're getting a lot of great people. I mean, this bag is one of 10, founders build demos that we have, right? So we're very inventory limited right now, but we're making our first 100. They're actually out for pre-sale right now, and so we know we're going to start getting more exposure. And frankly, even if there was a downturn where less people are buying, there's still an incubation period where people are going to be seeing these things,
right?
And more people will be aware of them, so that when they do have the funds, or if they want to lever down on one thing and lever up on this, that may be a kind of a serendipitous. I know we will survive. The question is whether it's at a 3 or an 8 or a 10 on the throttle.
Right.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on how music is kind of being taken out of schools at the elementary, middle school, high school level? What's your thought on that, and how could you perhaps offer a different alternative to that?
Sure. Well, I join the legions of people who are concerned with the budgetary impact and what it means for kids and art programs and so forth. I would say I personally believe that if we can, and we have a segmented business strategy where we have one chance to establish the brand, and so use Tesla as an example. They probably had to have a high price right out of the gate because it's pretty hard to make these things, right?
Is, yeah.
And like Tesla, we anticipate segmenting down into a mid-tier model or something like that. And it's really, that's I think where we can partner with, whether it's philanthropic organizations or what have you. But to get these things into the hands of kids would be great.
Yeah.
We have our first guitar right here. The Ascender is electric, but we have aims at shallow body acoustic, will be lighter.
Okay.
Bass even,
Mm-hmm.
and short scale bass. And so I think with the a multi-tiered offering and premium, and then the mid-tier, I think that's what we'll be able to get there.
Sounds good.
And matter of fact, I do believe too that as it relates to kids and music, of course, bullying is a terrible, pernicious reality out there, right? And so, at a certain level, I actually think that having our guitars be in a backpack may take your target down, right? For kids. And so it may be that, there's a point in time where you want to stand out and you want to walk with that guitar because you feel cooler, right? And then maybe there's a time when you don't, right? And to give people the option of, I just want to kind of fly under the radar, and it's super convenient. You can, maybe it fits in the locker. I don't know about that.
Right.
We haven't tested the locker test.
Yeah.
But a lot of different potential considerations for that.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll fit in the locker. Yeah, we'll see. How has a failure, because we spoke about failure before, so how's a failure or an apparent failure set you up for later success? Do you have a favorite failure of yours?
Well, let's see. I could talk about the law or music.
You choose.
Yeah. Well, I would say, there was an instance on the guitar where, I'd mentioned how we've had broken strings and necks and so forth. But I'll use this example. So we had a design review back in Wisconsin with the engineering company that did the frontline hard work.
Got it.
Right. I invented the concept, but they're the smart folks that really effectuated it in a way that I would never have been able to. But if you will, fly to Chicago, drive from Chicago to Madison. It's about 10 people that have all flown in for this. This engineer who was the lead, he very proud because he's been working so hard on this, and he's the president of his company, and all these people in, and he proudly has it in front of us. And so we had an artist come with us, and he played it, and that was the first time when I heard it played, and that's when I was almost in tears. Like, it was so wonderful. And then I thought, you know what? Well, let's try to fold it, right? Fold it. Everything worked fine. And then when we tried to get it back out, it was a little sticky and so forth. So I asked this guy, this main engineer, I was like, Matt, can you help me here? So he put some pressure on it, and literally the neck flew that way. Like, it just snapped in half, right?
Okay.
And this poor guy, immediately, he was almost in tears. It's just like his dream of this perfect day and accolades had, in his mind, kind of evaporated. And without a moment's hesitation, because I know it. It was so glaringly true. I thanked him because better to know now,
yes,
right? Than have this false sense of security and then have it snap on stage with someone. And so that was a huge thing that could have been a mistake, and I guess it was a mistake on the team or whatever. It's just part of the learning process. But in all candor, that was just like the best thing ever. And now that guitar is so robust, it hurts. Yeah.
Okay. Great example. Great example. Now, as you begin to get more popular with the guitar and you get more mentions in the press, you're going to acquire more critics or haters, as we say. How do you handle your critics?
I love it. So, we have had ridiculously good fortune in terms of the amount of media, right? And you may know this, but, from Winter NAMM in 2019 up in Anaheim here, we were, USA Today featured us as one of the top 6. We were the lead of the top 6 stories, so I choose to believe we were number 1.
I agree.
Out of 7,000 brands.
Yeah.
Right? So 1 out of 7,000 brands, wow. #1 live feed on Guitar World. We beat out Fender and Gibson and everybody else. Forbes recently, right? And then CNN at So it's been beyond my wildest dreams in terms of the ability to get the media presence. As it relates to the haters, and it's really the social media, trolls out there. I love, much in the same way that when people walk by and give me the hairy eyebrow and, kind of poo-poo, I will actively seek them to at least have them hear me out, right? Or they say no and walk away, and, I've got thick skin. If there are the people on social media, what I do is, thanks. Every response starts with thanks. Yeah. Thanks for stopping by, right? And I believe, just as an aside, every email, everything should always start with thank you, right? Just that's the way I roll. But I thank him, and then I understand your skepticism. I'd be skeptical too if I didn't know blah blah blah, right?
Got it.
And they may continue to snipe and so forth, but I will wear them down to the point where they will at least say, all right, I'll give you credit, you're committed, right? But 9 times out of 10, when you engage them and they realize that they're not in this echo chamber where no one's going to respond, there's no accountability, right? So you respond, and then they kind of, at least most times, they will snap out of it.
Good, excellent strategy. Yeah. Tell us about the darkest time in your life, how you got through that, and what did you learn from that experience?
The darkest time, oof. Well, I would say, I've had,
unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I would say, whether it's car accidents, I broke my neck playing ice hockey. I grew up, playing hockey through college and what have you. I've had a lot of, frankly, I've had a lot of near deaths.
Okay.
Right. I literally have a letter from, a letter written to my cousin, because he saved my life from drowning when I was 3. Right. So I've got like 9 lives, and I would say what it probably gives me is a deeper sense of gratitude for every day, frankly.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Not good, but thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
As you were growing up, who was the most influential person for you?
So influential, probably my mother. Yeah.
Any reason why, or?
Just she was very scrappy. Grew up dirt poor, like literally, no hot water kind of stuff. It's hard for us to even understand how things can be out in some areas. I never went to school, but she was very book smart, very street smart, and very committed as a mother, wife, friend, and had a deep, super strong work ethic. And then also, forgive me, she passed just a few months ago.
Okay, sorry to hear that. What do you find easy to do that your friends find hard to do?
What do I find easy to do?
Yeah. There's plenty of it, but you could pick one.
Yeah. I would say, the thing that I love and people sometimes will give me props on is just like the level of energy that they, tell me that I have. And, we all have our ups and downs and so forth. But, I guess the fun part is when you're dealing with things that you're passionate about, like life is great, right?
It is. It is.
Yeah, and I truly I believe that some of this again is born out of, and I never lose sight of the fact that I should have been pushing up daisies years ago, right? And so I'm like, heck yeah, I'm the happiest guy you're going to meet today because I get to hang out doing cool stuff with cool people, and even when I was helping people on the intellectual property side,
right.
I'm helping people fulfill their dreams, right? Like someone had an idea.
Yeah.
Well, you got to respect ideas, right? And so anyway, just a little, I'm not sure if that answered it well or what have you, but
It's great. What would you like to be better at?
Oh, time management. Actually,
We can relate.
Above all, sleep.
Yes.
God, I want to go to I wish there was a sleep camp.
Maybe there is. We'll have to research for
Yeah,
one.
anybody out there in podcast land, you come up with a sleep camp. I would pay dearly.
Yeah, sleep is tough.
Yeah.
I struggle with it too. Now, when you were 21, you were at Marquette, correct? You're still at Marquette?
Yeah.
21. So we're going to go back and talk to 21-year-old Jonathan. Give him advice based on what you know now. What advice would you give your younger self?
Wow, I love that question too. Younger self, I would say probably be more self-confident, right? I think that it's easy to let people and people's, your ideas of people's perceptions and perspectives, shape what it is that you want to do, and maybe even how you do it, right? And so, I have no regrets by any stretch. Everything that has happened for a reason, I believe, and has helped me to get stronger. But I would say, the truth is, no one has the exact playbook of you in your life.
True.
None.
Yeah.
Right? We have our own manual. We have our own. No one knows us better.
Right.
Right? So listen to yourself.
Yeah. What do you feel is the one lesson in life that took you the longest to learn?
Probably balance.
Okay. And how
Yeah.
did you get to learn that? That's a tough one.
It's a tough one, and I would say it came serendipitously, really later in life when I got married, and then when we had our daughter who just turned 8.
Congrats.
No, I mean life is. I now understand the value of balance, and before, and it goes kind of back to that. The prior question,
Right.
which is, what would you change or what have you? I was so hell bent on, outperforming and overachieving and being the guy. I think in the first 4 years of my law practice, I literally took 1 week of vacation, and that was in between jobs, right?
Yeah.
So I was working 6 and 7 days a week because that's what you do.
Right.
And now granted, I was single and, I didn't have anything, I guess.
Any attachments.
Yeah. But I would say the value of balance. And of course, it's not as though, how do I put this? When it's right and like for me, when my daughter came around, I was probably nervous leading up to that, thinking, well, what's this going to do to my, my life, right? Is it going to impact the things that I hold dear or want to continue to doing? And then when something of that magnitude comes, that's all you want to do is maximize your time there.
Right.
That's all, and that's, candidly, it's another reason why when I left the corporate job, it was to have more flexibility to work from home and take her to school and pick her up and do all the things that my younger self, back even in 2001 when I started at NuVasive, no way. Just no way. Because I was there at 7 in the morning and you're there till 8 at night, and that's just what everybody did.
Yeah.
No, that's no way to live.
Yeah. But you've learned it. At least you learned that lesson.
Yeah.
Every great person has a sentence. What is your sentence? For example, my sentence is I love to help people unlock their creativity by teaching them how to DJ. What is your sentence?
I would say, I've never really thought about my sentence, but it's helping people be creative. I guess I struggle a bit because I've got the IP aspects of it, and there it's like I want to protect people's hard-earned innovation, right? To give them the options that they need to maximize that.
Right.
For me now, it's really unleashing the mobile musician.
There you go.
Yeah.
Love that. Unleashing the mobile musician. That's going to be a good tagline. Now, what is one new habit that you've added to your daily routine in the past year or so that has been most beneficial?
Sure. I have a very regimented morning routine, and it's you know, and I still have a couple of legal clients that I service. So basically, my law hours are early on in the morning, and so you know, I'm up early. You know, coffee is definitely, you know, part of the routine. But then I do about 900 crunches every day.
900.
Yeah, that's the. It takes 15 minutes. And I do it because I was teeteringly close to getting back surgery from my life of playing ice hockey.
Okay.
And so my core, you know, that's the one thing I got going for me physically.
Wow.
Is my core. So it's like coffee, core, and the one good thing about that is it wakes me up probably better than the coffee.
Right.
Right. And so I maximize the, you know, kind of that early morning jump, get the you know, and I can't say not fun stuff because I still enjoy the you know, aspects of the law.
Yes.
But the quicker I get that behind me, now I can jump into, you know, there's the purpose of the league, you know, the intellectual property law, and then the passion of guitar. So I can shift from purpose to passion.
Quickly.
Just like that. Yeah.
Definitely. Nice. Now, we are really big readers here on the Money Experience podcast. So if there's 1, 2, or 3 books you feel people should stop what they're doing right now and start to read them immediately, what books come to mind?
Sure. So there's, I mean, for guitar lovers out
Sure.
there, there's, I think, Play It Loud,
Okay.
which is kind of an anthology of the history of electric guitars. From the first Rickenbacker frying pan, you know, Les Paul and Fender and all that stuff. I buy these books and send them to people, particularly, our investors, and thanking them for their support in our writing of a next chapter.
Yes,
right? Because
definitely.
we're adding to that. So that's part of. It's very important to me. From a business book, I think Mindset is really good. You know,
Carol Dweck.
Yeah,
Great
exactly.
book.
Yeah, she's fantastic. I can't get enough of Malcolm Gladwell either. So pretty much anything by him is entertaining. For historical, Blood and Thunder.
Oh, okay.
Blood and Thunder is a great book. It's Carlton. No, I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name.
We'll add it to the show notes.
Yeah, but Blood and Thunder is about the kind of the making of the West and the frankly the central role that Kit Carson played, and a lot of it takes place on the West Coast for us out on the West Coast here. It's kind of neat to see how certain aspects of the America we enjoy today started with, you know, battles in San Diego and, you know, Kit Carson doing some crazy stuff.
Definitely. Cool. Great books. We're going to add them to the show notes. Thank you.
Sure.
What has been the best advice that you've ever received?
Oh, wow. Best advice. I'm kind of drawing a blank on that, where there was one thing where I walked out thinking, oh my God, you know, I got to write that down. But I would say, you know, this is very simple advice, but you know, buck up was something my mom always said, which is basically like, you know what, and it's kind of the grit thing. Like, life's tough. Buck up and you know, you find a way.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I would say that's probably you know,
That works.
Yeah.
That works for sure.
tough love.
Yes. Now, are you a sports fan at all?
I have no choice but to be a Packer fan.
Okay, yes. So we were going to Lambeau Field.
Oh yeah.
And they're now saying Jonathan's coming to the field.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
song is playing?
Oh boy. Probably Thunderstruck.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. We dig it. That's cool. Almost done here, but I want you to kind of show us the guitar, and maybe kind of, because we can look at the camera, show the guitar or whatever, and kind of fill us in, because I'm excited to see what it looks like and how it sounds. So take it
Sure.
away real quick.
Sure. So this is the backpack that houses the Ascender. I have a gig bag on the inside here that I can take out, and if you don't feel like, you know, if you're not a backpack person,
Good.
you can absolutely just take the gig bag and then with a can I get a drum roll?
Oh, let's.
Yeah. So
at
this
that.
is the ascender in the folded state, clearly, and basically, with I'll show it towards the camera. When I throw this open, and then I just throw this lever, and it's a top off tune away.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And so it's a top off, never more than a half step out of tune.
Got it.
If I had a tuner, I could do it. But long and short is we have this where no one's gonna know if I'm playing. I'm up on stage. We've had this played at the it was the Viper Room a month ago or what have you.
Yeah.
And no one in the crowd knew that this great band called the Revelries out of Baton Rouge that they were playing our guitars, and it's because it's a normal look feel play. 24 3/4 inch scale, 22 fret. I mentioned Seymour Duncan 59s, dual humbuckers, ratio locking tuners from Gravtech. Great locking tuners, and then we have independent adjustability on so you can drop this from a double coil, humbucker,
Got it,
to a single coil just by snapping these things.
Wow.
So it can sound like a Telecaster or a Strat, as well as a Les Paul. And by the way, you want to have a single coil here and a humbucker there. Great. It's the total versatility that's required for people to, again, they take this on a fly date.
Yeah.
And really for the pro musicians, it's a fly date. It's a radio tour. It's a tuck away in the tour bus.
Yes.
It's certainly songwriting, right? And then when it's time to go, you just flip it. Strings went from 118 pounds to 3, just like that. And then I just unlock the hinge, and then do this, and the strings, feel the strings.
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's how the magic happens, and and truly, in this folded state, it's shorter than a ukulele.
Yes.
And this is. I like ukes, but I think this is a little bit more versatile.
That's phenomenal. Dope.
Yeah, and if I can indulge you for one hot second, we are actually about to unveil something we call the Gig Rig.
Okay.
And we're going to be at the we're presenting at or exhibiting rather at the largest motorcycle trade show in the country in about 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today.
Okay.
And so what we've done is, quickly file for the patent, of course. That's the easy part.
Yes,
that's the easy part. And we are prototyping feverishly right now a saddlebag that has a built-in amplifier.
Ooh.
Come on. Yeah. So now we have, for the first time, a guitar that can go into a saddlebag.
Yes.
Right? Well, a lot of people say, well, that's great. I have an electric guitar and it's convenient, but now I have to tow it on an amp.
Yeah. No, you don't.
No, you don't. Exactly. So, anyway, we're
exclusive.
We're bringing. Yeah, this is a world debut of
exclusive.
Exactly. No, we're excited about it because then, from a business model, we could license that. What's important for us is that now the dealers, if they want to promote motorcycles as a lifestyle.
Right.
Now, people who identify as guitarists no longer have to sacrifice their guitars if they were to expand into the motorcycle lifestyle.
Right.
They're not mutually exclusive. And so for us, I'm excited because now if we're in, all I want is to have a couple guitars per dealership. They can make all the money they want on the bag. I don't want to make bags, but I surely want to be in their showroom.
That's interesting that you're going to a motorcycle conference to promote both the product and the new product. That's very forward thinking. I'm impressed. That's good.
Well, the fun part is we now have an offering that at least physically and quality too, it's never existed, right? In this quality in this footprint. And so it's really up to us to explore what are those new verticals that where people might enjoy them. So there's RVs or sailboats or I don't know. Maybe we'll have a canoe a canoe version of the.
Excellent. So before I ask you the final question, tell everyone how they can find you, if they want to do the pre-order for the guitar, and then social media, where do you live, kind of share your information there.
Sure. Thank you, Amani. So my email, if they want to contact me directly, is Spangler, so JSPANGLER at ciariguitars.com. And that is CIARI guitars.com. Ciariguitars.com is where the pre-sale info and availability is. And then we're on Instagram and Facebook and,
all the socials.
All the socials. Yeah.
Where does the name Ciari Guitars come from?
Well, it's kind of a it's an arbitrary term, and essentially, it's hard to come up with a good name. And I didn't want a lot of people in the guitar space. It's like, just take your last name.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have Spangler Guitars. Like that would not work. And so because we're trying to do something different, and air travel was the thing that we went on this journey to solve guitar air travel.
Got it.
Cirrus for sky, and aria for melody, because we're bringing music to the air.
Well done. Yeah. Like it. Mm-hmm. Well, before I start, just thank you very much for coming up from San Diego to appear on the show. I really appreciate just your honesty, just the innovation that you have going on. It's fascinating. It's very inspiring. So thank you. I'm happy to meet you. Can't wait to work with you some more. We let our guests leave us with any last-minute words of wisdom or advice. So I'll say thank you again and allow you to take us home.
Sure. Thank you very much. Well, I would say, revel in every challenge every day, because, honestly, the world is full of great opportunities if you work hard enough to not only just stick to it and make it. And it's not rocket science, but I think it's have fun. Actually, my dad has some pretty funny advice. He says, every day have a little bit of fun, and every so often a bash, right? And so, work hard, have some fun every day, and then celebrate.
Have a bash.
Have a bash. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Amani Experience podcast. You can check out the show notes on amaniexperience.com/podcast. Please remember to leave us a review on the platform you are listening on, and share this podcast with anyone who you feel would benefit from listening. See you soon for our next episode.